and SMEs who want to transform and build the digital presence. Ladies and gents, without further ado, our very first speaker for today, who's going to share a little bit more about what she does. Let's put our hands together. Miss Rachel Tan, ladies and gents, founder and CEO of IRL Media Malaysia.
I do a welcome speech, right? Do a lot already when I'm working. So I thought, hey, why don't I just share a personal story of mine, right? So today I think what I'll do is I'll share a little bit about myself. My name is Rachel. Yeah, thanks to friends who know me. I've got a lot of names as well, but I'm not going to mention it here. And I come from a small town called Johor Bahru. No longer small. It was small 30 years ago. Then today you've got a lot of tall skyscrapers and China developments. Right. Alright, so I specifically picked this picture because it's a picture of Johor Bahru with a causeway. Now, Johor is known as a city next to the causeway opposite Singapore. How many of you here have been to Johor Bahru? Can I see a show of hands? Awesome! Good. Have you ever tried the kway teow kia? It's really good. Okay. So a little bit of background, right? So I come out from a family that is low to middle income. And my dad used to sell cars. My mom used to go to Singapore, just like many Johorians here, who would go into Singapore at 5 a.m., take a bus, and then come back to work because the currency was bigger. A lot of us who were studying in JB would say, hey, you know where you're going to study in Singapore? It was an automatic mindset because it was so near there, right? And I didn't want to be one of that. I didn't want to be one of the person who traveled every day back and forth, and just study and study, right? I wanted to explore. I was, in a way, the kid or the student who would sit behind the class, if you get what I mean. Okay? So to tell my story, I decided to go and dig up some old photos on high school. So I came from an all-girls school. It wasn't always the case. I came from a co-ed school, and my parents decided, maybe high school, when you're growing up as teens, go to a girls' school, more teen. Right? Now, if you know anybody who goes to a girls' school and you ask them, hey, what are the few things that they talk about? The first thing on the list will be boys. Boys, okay, because you're all girls, right? Second thing is probably, hey, how's your exam grades? What are you all doing? What's your next on the list? Third thing is probably, hey, where are you going to study? What stream are you going to go? Art stream, science stream, and that was basically my life in high school. And so I was one of them, but back then I wasn't really a studious person. So I was probably like in the middle class, taking part in like choir, skipping class, I was like that kind of student, right? But I was very happy because I had a lot of fond memories of high school. Now, then I decided, hey, I think my parents would not be able to afford overseas education, so I applied for PTPTN. And decided to apply for a scholarship as well. So I got that and got an offer letter from Monash. And why Monash? Because Monash had an exchange program. I don't know if you all know. I know there was a few Monashans here. Any Monashans in the house? Woo! Put your hands up. Be proud, guys. Okay, so I came from Monash. And why Monash? Because we could pay a ringgit fees, doing promotion for them. Ringgit fees and still go to a different campus that they are in across Australia or South Africa, and still pay ringgit. So you would save money. So I chose Monash because it was an option that I could actually consider, right? And then started my journey. I was in Sunway, the Sunway campus. I was the first batch of students. So back then it was like totally empty empty land. There was one cafeteria, there was one bookstore, and I was just me. I was very happy because I got to study in Monash, right? And my heart was full, right? I didn't have any doubts. I wasn't very disappointed. I was very happy. So I was very new in a new city. I came alone at the age of 18 to Sunway, and I decided, hey, go rent a room. Just make sure that you go and meet people and explore and make some friends so that you don't feel so lonely. Right? So that's what I did when I went and studied there. Now, besides that, I told myself, hey, if you are in uni, you have 3 years, go and make your life, fulfilling. So what I did was I took part in a lot of different activities. Go and do pageants go and do talent shows and all this stuff. Because if you don't try it then when will you try it, right? So that's my motto, go try. And then fail and then go and try again. Right? So that's kind of what I did in university. So this was me organizing orientation week for the students. And then pageant. And of course, at the age of 20, I was very lucky because before I graduated, when I was turning 20 years old, I had an offer letter from Tim from Nuffnang. Any of you know Nuffnang in this room? Yeah, so Nuffnang back then, maybe about 10 to 12 years ago, was the largest blogging community in the world. And it was started by Timothy Tia, who is now the founder of Colony, who will be here later in the evening with Audrey, his wife. Back then, it was his girlfriend. So I've known him since he was 23 when we started Nuffnang. And he offered me a job after a 2-hour interview. And he said, hey, take this job, right? I will hire you. And I said, okay, at that point I was 19, right? Like who would be not happy, right? Getting a job, pay you like, X amount, and you get to work. So I was a media salesperson for Nuffnang. And my job was to actually sell advertising space and advertorials from bloggers, like your Cheezerland, 4feet9, and all the bloggers. And back then, you had Vivi Yusof, who was coming up, like ProudDuck.com. All these guys, I've known them since they were teens, right? And that's how blogging started out, right? And what happened was, there were a lot of fond memories, because that was my first job. And a lot of first times as well, right? It was my first time going overseas to London with Tim and Audrey. It was the first time also organizing, a lot of sports days. It was the first time working with global brands like JB, Heineken, and all these brands for their campaigns. It was the first time meeting a lot of celebrities, like Adam Lambert, Kelly Clarkson, and all these guys, right? For concerts, because as Nuffnang you get media passes. Yeah, so you make full use of it. So there was a lot of firsts, and it was very memorable. It was a lot of party. And back then I was like, oh, very happy. Okay? Now, then came 5 to 6 years later. So I was in Nuffnang for about 6 years. And I think there was if you ask me back then, I don't know what resilient meant, but when I look back now, I feel like it's something that I've been practicing over the years, from moving up to a bigger city, to getting a job, to learning a new skill, to meeting new people and brands, right? So I was in 2014, 2015, I was the youngest country manager for Malaysia, where I was running the sales, operations and talent managers in Malaysia. And Nuffnang back then had 7 offices in Malaysia and Southeast Asia. And Malaysia contributed to about 50% of the revenue. So imagine a 26-year-old, I don't know stuff, right? And I'm running a 50-man team on sales and operations and talents, and I'm there talking to big agencies like Group M, Mindshare, Ogilvy, PR, Creative Firm, JWT, all, you name it, right? And I'm negotiating contracts to say, hey, do you want to spend on influencer marketing? And then these group CEOs of agencies who have years of experience, decades, they're like looking at me, hey, this girl, does she know what she's like so young, does she know her stuff, right? And nothing came easy, right? It was tough because I had to convince them. I had to sit in a group of boardroom, tell them why you should buy into bloggers and influencers, and if you don't, you lose out, and you'll be the brand that be left behind, right? And that taught me a lot over the years, and I also made my biggest probably decision then, because at that point I was already 6 years in Nuffnang, and I decided that I was going to leave, right? And why? It wasn't because I wasn't contented, but it was because I was too comfortable. I was too comfortable, and I know that being resilient meant that I had to adapt. I knew that I would get bored. I was 26. I wanted to see the world, I wanted to explore, right? And so what I did was, I told Tim, hey, Tim, I need to talk to you. And I said, hey, I'm going to be exploring, I'm going to look for another role. And he said, why don't I write you an offer letter or like a recommendation letter, pass it on my network, and see who wants to hire you, right? And I said, no need. The one, I would look for a role myself, right? So then came the end of my journey, and on to the next one. I think this one a lot of you would have heard, because Shopee is a brand that has only grown in the last few years. Now, I've never shared this story with anybody. I think for some of these partners here today, you probably have met me through Shopee, right? Now, when I joined Shopee, it was before Shopee was even found on Google. Now, when you search Shopee, there's 0 results. Now, when a headhunter approached me and said, hey, why don't you join the Shopee platform? Then I was like, hey, but I don't even buy things online. That was 5 years ago. I'm like the old shopper, I didn't touch the clothes. I need to try it on. And I said, I don't even believe in it, Then they said, why don't you just go and chat with the MD and see what you can do and contribute. Maybe it's a new experience. So I said, okay. So I went, and then he said, hey, why don't you go and run the marketing for me? And I said, but I don't have experience running marketing. right? And I've never heard of any of these terms like CAC, acquisition cost, cost per click, cost per order. All these terms were very new to me, and I was scared. I was like, hey, what if I fail? And you know, there are a lot of people, I had a team to manage, and my team was looking up to me to make sure that I knew what I was doing, right? So I took up the challenge, and I asked myself, what's the worst that can happen, right? If it doesn't work out, I just look for another job, right? So that's the mindset that I had, right? And I said, okay, let's just try. Now, this was our first press conference that we held, and I knew nothing about PR or press conference back then, and we said, hey, how do we differentiate ourselves from competitors? And back then, mind you, our competitor wasn't Lazada or Blue. Our competitor was just like your other apps. Back then, we had Gem5 lah, you had Carousel lah, you had a lot, right? And we were like number 5 or number 6 on the list in Google Play or App Store. And we were happy. We were like, okay, wow, we were top 10. Very happy. And we said, okay, let's just do a launch and see how this works, right? And let's target 3x of users. And back then, the growth was 3-digit, right? And we said, okay, let's try it. And we partnered with the largest courier partner, national courier, which is Post Laju. And we said, hey, why don't we do this? Let's offer free shipping program. Because Malaysians love free shit, right? Everyone's like, hey, yeah, you know, I pay already, check out already, I don't want to pay extra. That's the very common mindset. And we said, let's do free shipping. And we did. And in the span of 1 month, we grew not 3x, but we grew almost 200% in terms of users. And then that's how it just started. And before we knew it, in 2 years, less than 2 years, we became the #1 shopping app on Google Play and App Store. Of course, none of this was easy. There were a lot of challenges, from people not knowing to, we had 0 partners when we started. We had 0 media coverage. We had to talk to banks, telcos. I remember some of the partners who turned us down and said, I don't know you. They couldn't even spell our name properly. They spelled with like typos. And then they tell me, come back again when you're bigger. Right? And I'm like, okay, I'll come back again when I'm bigger. And I left. Right? And I said, okay, you know, and now today, some of these partners, they come to us. But I don't turn them away, right? I say, hey, let's work together. Let's find ways to work together, and we'll support you, right? And that's how we grew, because we stayed humble, and we never knew that we would be this big, to be honest. Today, Shopee in Malaysia, we have about 800 employees sitting in gardens, and the marketing team is about 150 people, right? For different roles. And back then, when I first started, it was a small office of 30 people, with operations and marketing and business development. And it's a great story to tell, because it's something that I will carry with me forever, right? And it's just amazing. And there were a lot of firsts with Shopee as well, because it was my first time conducting interviews in Chinese. I was telling the guys just now, I had to get my team to write Hanyu Pinyin. Hanyu Pinyin, and I had to memorize, because I would get confused about thousands and millions in Mandarin. And in e-commerce, you cannot mess up the numbers, right? So that was one very, very memorable moment. And then, of course, when it comes to, I was talking about the topic and what I should do, I was just telling my team, while working on the slide last night, resilience to me meant that you should always be uncomfortable. Try things that you've not done before. And the people and the body has a really unique, it's very unique, because the more you try something that you're uncomfortable with and you fear it less, it becomes a norm eventually. Agree? So that's what I did. I purposely go and find trouble. Like, for example, hey, skydiving, hey guys, let's do skydiving. I'm inside, I'm very, very afraid, right? But I was the first to jump out of the plane. I didn't have a choice. The guy I was type 2 just jumped off, and I just went with it. Right now, then I was always fearful of speaking in the crowd. Now, I did communications. We had to sit down in groups and talk about ourselves, and I wasn't good at that. I was good at planning events. I was good at doing back-end stuff. And then I said, hey, let's just do it. And here I am today, right, sharing my story, and hope that this would actually inspire you, right? I don't think it comes naturally, but it comes with practice, right? And of course, today's event wouldn't have happened if I didn't take another plunge, right? So in 2018, late 2018, I decided that, hey, since through my experience of working in Nuffnang and working in Shopee, I've known so many people and heard so many stories from amazing speakers. Why don't I gather all of this, right, and put these stories online? So I created a publisher called inreallife.my, and today we reach out to over 100,000 people every month who submit their stories because they want to be heard, right? And what we do is we want to inspire people, as simple as that. And everybody in this room, I believe, has a story to tell. Whether you are a mother, or whether you are a student, or whether you are a hard worker in the office, or whether you are a slacker, right? People have something to share, and I think all this information that you have, someone else will benefit from it. Whether you are popular or you are not, it doesn't matter. And so I created this platform to allow people to share their stories, right? And we have so far managed to work with many, many partners, and because of that, we're able to turn around and create this event, because I wanted to bring these online stories offline. So thanks to our partners as well who supported us to make it happen. And of course, last but not least, thank you everybody for waking up early on a Saturday morning. I really appreciate it, right? And to all my speakers and partners, you know, really, really very thankful for like believing in this idea and making the time up to come despite the, you know, the news, whatever people say in the news, and they're still making it, right? I'm really grateful for that. The team as well who has worked together, this team that you see are people that I've met across all walks of life when I was in Nuffnang, when I'm in Shopee, and here today in IRL, and I carry them with me, right? And we build this relationship together. So I really hope that today you all will enjoy your day. Learn as much as you can, be inspired, go and network, meet people. If I don't catch you today, add me up on LinkedIn. My Instagram not so happening, so add me up on LinkedIn or just email me at rachel@reallife.my, and I hope that you all will, you know, enjoy the amazing list of speakers.